doing, bro?
Not bad, you know. Not
Oh,
bad, man.
straight in like that. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Why not? No time like the present, as they say.
For real.
How you doing?
Good, man. Another day, for real. Um,
Um, yeah, man. It was kind of warm today, you know. So
I wouldn't know, bro. I was working.
my bad.
Yeah, yeah.
My bad, my bad. Yeah,
What'd you
one
get
of
up
those.
to?
Just working. It's just that I was working in one of those scenic location where it's kind of like a
Mm,
public area, but working myself, man. Just sat, went to a park. Normally my location to create is coffee shop
coffee
usually,
shops.
but I was in a park just sitting down. One of those ones where everybody's there, just being casual, enjoying
Mm.
families and everybody around you just doing their thing. But I just there, my headphones just locked in, get my work done. Just another day, you know.
Yeah, man. Environment helps.
Yeah, yeah. I think just where it's very casual and it's like it's just kind of like there's peace in noise. I suppose that's what I get from that. Sometimes when you go to certain places, it's like it's chaos outside, but I have no excuse to not do what I'm supposed to do anyway. So I just sit there and just get it done, regardless of
Mm.
what's going on around me.
But in
So
that space is cool though.
yeah, it's calm.
I'd imagine. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Besides, I'm kind of used to it anyway.
Mm.
Um, in that type of situation, I'm kind of used to it. So it don't really bother me like that. Don't really bother me like that. But I think certain people don't necessarily. But I guess each to their own. You have to pick your poison.
Yeah.
You know, can be somewhat of like some would say an acquired taste.
Ha.
Sort of, you know what I mean? That type of thing. Um, but yeah. Uh, so I got something for you.
Yes.
The quote. All right, here we go. Hidden and never found, destined to be lackluster. The hardest calluses in the mind I could muster. I could never let them get to me. Looking in the sky like the Red Sea, waiting yet ready, taken to the stead like time to flee. But never run, that's not me. Could never let spell quit in betwixt amicably. Looking in between the eyes like my enemy. Never to stay eye to eye, we repel like the sickly. Running down the arms like growth spores, I rebuke thee. Looking for a button to mute, then be. Refusing to let the world tell me what I'm meant to be. Yeah, that's the quote. Yeah, any thoughts?
Oh,
Any
bro,
thoughts?
still processing it. I think
I
that
thought,
one we might have to break down each. Um, the last line is just a killer way to sum up what you're talking about there. Um, yeah,
uh, yeah, so,
just on some. That's all it comes down to. Um, if you don't, you're gonna get swallowed up by expectations. Your own like inner demon saying, "Ah, like you gotta fit in, you gotta be digestible, you gotta do blah blah blah, anything to feel comfortable."
Mm, real talk, real talk. I suppose I could give a bit of more context because my titles always somewhat give a bit of context. The title for this piece is called Paper Smudge. Yeah. So in
How to sign
essence,
art piece?
sir.
No, the title, how to sign art piece.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Hmm.
just kind of along the line of what we're the topic that we're talking about.
Hmm.
So I suppose it sort of hints, where my mind was thinking to go today. And yeah, man, just talk art or pieces, or perhaps the inspiration behind pieces. I suppose obviously we're here now, so we could talk about this one. And yeah, we can break it down.
Yeah,
You
please. I'm trying to figure out where you could put it somewhere.
talking about the quote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let me see.
Just so I can refer to it.
I suppose. Do you think we could paste it here in the comments section?
Private, yeah, yeah, yeah. I put in a
Private chat.
private. Yeah, that's what I was like thinking. Hopefully, if they sweet, but wish you could save it.
Can you see
But
it?
yeah, uh, up until yeah, looking for a button to mute them, be refusing. This
So obviously, I think the last line is quite obvious.
hmm
But let's just start with the title. I think the easiest way to sort of relate back to the title is uh, the one Nipsey Hussle. That's something that he used to somewhat refer to.
hmm
Not necessarily paper smudge, but smudge on my name. And obviously we're speaking about integrity at this point. What you say
Yeah, he's big on
exactly.
that, man.
It was
Very
big on
big
that,
on that. Yeah.
and that was somebody that I was really fond of or paid attention to because he
hmm
was always big on reputation. He's always big on living up to his name or representing what his name stands for or what his name stood for. So for me, that was somewhat a leading inspiration to what where I went with the piece. But yes, um, and somewhat conviction behind your words, conviction behind your objective, your goals.
Mm.
And if it be sometimes it leads through darkness, you kind of have to tread that road. Hence the following lines: hidden never found, destined to be lackluster, the hardest calluses in the mind I could muster. I could never let them get to me. Look in the sky like the Red Sea, waiting yet ready, taken to the steed like taken to the stead like time to flee but never run. That's not me.
Mm.
Could never spell quit in betwixt amicably. That's a juxtaposition. It's quit and being quit and friendly together just don't mix. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Um, looking between the eyes like my enemy. That's like hating myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Never
Flow's
slip.
serious, bro.
Huh?
Flow's there.
Yeah, yeah. It came together quite well. Never say it's eye to eye. We repel like the sickly, running down the arms like growth spores. I rebuke thee,
Mm.
looking for a button to mute, then be yourself. No matter what it is, we're gonna fight so that we can continue to just be, man. As you always say, just be yourself. You know.
Yeah,
And
shout out Lee as well from the last ep. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Shout out to
for
Lee,
real,
man.
because that was our whole thing.
Yeah,
Because like that's why I was just like, I get where she's at. She's really practicing full time to just be in the moment.
yeah,
Um, and being open and vulnerable to not trying to put a label to anything, so that way she can interpret um differently what that means in different moments. So I was just like,
yeah,
yeah, I get it. I really get it. And back to what you were saying as well about how navigating the road in the darkness, I feel like a lot of us are just put there um,
mm,
off rip. Because lately I just be, not comparing, but you look at people's journeys
yeah,
or where they're at, and it's like, and it just brings it back to myself, like, rah, I got to where I am and how I carry myself because of how um, I made myself not quit
mm,
and appreciate the gems that I've taken from different circumstances, and I apply it, and it's just built and built and built somewhat of a
yeah,
callus to some point where it's like, yeah, you can see the growth in your character, and I'm like, yeah, I don't can't you can't fake that. Do you know what I mean? You can't.
yep, yep. That's real. But I think ultimately that's what it's supposed to be, man. But it's kind of like what they say. You don't. Sometimes it's discovered, it's figured out, it's never told. You can't. Somebody can't tell you. You have to live
Mm,
it.
mm,
You have to figure it out for yourself. So more times than not, that's why sometimes when you sit and speak to certain people, and you can tell their mindset is not necessarily where they want to be, but at the same time, you can't disrupt the process. You have to just let them be, and they have to come to that space, that stage by themselves.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like, if you interrupt that, it's almost like you if it was possible, you going back to the future and changing something, and
Mm.
ultimately that's gonna affect the end results in the end, sort of thing.
Ha, what's the saying? Don't interrupt someone's karma.
Yeah, that too. That too. But it's got to be organic. It's got to be a natural process.
Mm.
And I'll say the biggest thing, they have to want it. They have to want it, and they have to just go and get it for themselves, man. For the most part. Not to say
Mm.
that you can't help, but
Yeah,
you
it's
could
like the
probably
price of
lead them,
knowledge.
as they say.
Mm.
You probably lead them to the water, as they say.
Yeah,
But
it's like the.
ultimately, they're the one that have to walk through the door, or help themselves.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking about. But I want to ask you, what are some of your inspirations when it comes to putting pen to paper and things just come into fruition and the words start to flow?
That's a really good question to ask now. Um, because as of late, I'm trying to get to a point where it is, repetition. And I feel the difference between being inspired is like you feel this ecstasy and it just like, yeah. So
Yeah.
ecstasy mixed with experience and your gifts with the words, it's just a high. Um, but then it transpired into saying that, all right, if could I do this under any circumstance? And the more I was able to say yes, is when I started to take on the mantle of like, all right, I have things to do, I have projects to attempt and complete.
Yeah.
But I'd say inspirations, they definitely come from the themes, like of where I'm at in my life.
Mm.
Um, and I say that because it's a direct reflection of what is on the bigger scale of what I'm trying to understand myself. That's what
Yeah.
keeps me not stuck in I always need to chase this heartbreak emotion for me to be able to write. And I'm like, bro, come on, man. We're like
Mm.
multi-dimensional when it comes to what I have to say. So I'd say that that's one of them, being able to explain where I'm at in the
Yeah.
current moment. Hence why I love my blog, because that went from inspo
Yeah.
to then, okay, where are you right now? Get that off and just carving out the, I need to make this so pinpoint. It's like, nah, it's like exercise. That's how I'm trying to treat it.
Yeah.
And I'd say, secondly, would be art, which comes back to the title massively.
Right.
Art in itself, art from, I'd say, my peers, like the artists and creatives that I look up to and their works. A lot of conviction. I feel the messages that they put in there are you. I get when they say don't meet your heroes, but with I don't think that's the case for all of them. But for some, it's like they really stand behind what they put out,
Mm.
and because of that, it just makes me look at myself and be like, bro, I could do that. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole point. I'm meant to look at something and say, yeah, that's me.
Well, I think you have to remember it's a little bit different for you because it's not as if like you're an audience person. You're actually part of the band. You get what I mean? You're one of the performers yourself. Like you're doing this. You're actually living that life either way. So
Right.
you're not supposed to see it as in like, oh man, I ain't got ice running through my veins either. Like
Mm.
you just you've got to just be about it, man. I suppose the only difference is just consistency. And the way I think about it is that you know if you're like part time or you just you're chill with it but you're talented, you most likely be able to do make a hit once in a while. But when you're professional and you're dedicated to it, everything's supposed to be a hit. You get what I mean?
Okay. Yes.
Mm. So everything's supposed to be a hit, man. So when
Mm.
you turn up to spaces, or when somebody asks you, man, I got something this that that. All you need to do is find the right piece in terms of like covering the content matter that's
Right.
relevant to what they're asking about. Because that's what I do. I just pop the trunk, but I just look for titles that's relevant to what they're
Mm.
asking, or whatever sound they have. It could be like for example, the other day I was speaking to somebody contacted me about a sound. It's kind of like a reggae beat they sent me, and the beat was
Mm.
hard. It was like oof, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh shoot, I think I got something for that,
Mm.
and I just popped the chunk, and
Yeah, I
I
want to
found
hear that.
something. Yeah, they could
That'll
just send
go
me a
off,
song.
bro. Yeah, that'll go off.
Yeah, man.
Funny though, quick one.
Yeah,
Um, this ain't the first time you've mentioned that as well.
just that.
How sound, if I feel like sounds are finding you, especially as of late,
Oh
with
man,
what
sound.
you do. And I think that's a great sounds. Yeah, I think it's dope how people are just seeing what you do and just seeing how they could bring a soundscape to that.
Mm,
What's your take on that?
um, for me, it's like there's a lot of complementary things that I can always add to my sound. I just don't,
Mm,
because I'm somewhat maybe because my mindset is somewhat of a purist.
okay.
I could complement if I want to, and in certain instances where the format dictates that that's the norm, then I would. But for the
Mm,
most part, I choose to stay in my lane in terms of like I'm a poet and a writer. So if I'm on the stage, I'm going to do poetry,
mm,
and I don't necessarily. I'm not a person. I didn't start with music in the background. Not to say I don't
yeah.
do it, because
Mm,
I'm ready for anything. I try to be ready for anything, but for the most part, the standard is just me with me with a voice, me with
mm,
a mic. I don't need a sound, but um, I do always make it so I'm versatile. But to answer your question specifically, I'm very big on structuring, and so a lot of the things that I write is the how I structure my work, and I know how to tweak the structuring so I can change the rhythm of it.
mm,
And normally because of how I structure my work, I can speed it up and I can slow it down depending on how I want it to sound. If I want it to be profound, I could tweak that, change the
mm.
tempo. If I want it to be fun or just like sound like like a rap, something something, I could tweak it, increase the PBM type of thing, and it's different. So I know how to do it, but for the most part, I'm trying to do art. I'm not trying to be a rapper. Do you get me?
Yeah,
Mm. But
definitely.
you're right. I had a few people say that to me. It's just like, oh man, your work would go great with a beat in the
Mm,
background, like that. And most of the time when I'm writing anyway, I write with music in the background. Not necessarily not necessarily words, but
yeah.
like
Okay.
guitars.
Right. Andre 3000 kind of thing.
Yeah, like one of my favorite ones, guitars. They
Mm.
have they have so much emotions in them, man, and it's so easy to tap in guitars.
Not so funny.
Mm,
When I started this, taking it, I say from lockdown
yeah.
or prior, no, before that actually, music was so, like, I just needed to hear lyrics, bro. It went from R&B to soundscapes, like
Mm,
soundtracks from like films and whatnot, whatever, to
yeah.
silence. Like I
Shoot.
needed silence to write, and I was like, raw,
Yeah.
like just wanted to just hear and see the visuals in my head as clear
Yeah.
as day. Um, so yeah, definitely. But I think just going back to that, um, what you do inspires those who try, not try, who rap, who make music professionally and as a living. Because doing that, or just like people asking you to be a part of that, I feel is very, it's sick. Because it's like you bringing your purest mentality to that space.
Mm.
It's like a man inviting you to their home and be like, bro, be you. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's very dope. Yeah, very dope. Whereas otherwise,
That's literally what they say, be you.
mm,
Like, just,
and I say take it up um, to do that. Um, and the fact that you're not looking for it just makes it more organic
mm,
as well. So it shows how what you do is in going into different spaces, and I think that's like great because um, people are gonna look to what you're doing and be like, the essence here is to be real,
yeah.
um, and how that comes about is special because it's like, okay, what like he doesn't rap, but he's good with the words,
Mm,
and as they're trying to put you in a label, you're just
yeah.
cutting through, and they're just like, yeah, but I'm here though.
Yeah.
You get it? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's great for the
Yeah.
portfolio as well. So, yeah, that's why I always say, bro, like, whatever people approach you to do, if you feel that, yeah, this is something that you want to do, not that you have to, just because you can technically, but if you feel it's what, and you're like, yeah, man, go for it. I'm just like, anything can run this year onwards. Anything can run. If it makes sense to me and I feel it, takes me out of my zone a little bit, that gets me excited to be like, all right, someone's asking me to be myself.
Yeah.
Let's bring
Yeah.
that to the table.
No, you make a good point. You make a good point. I think, to a degree, I've I've been blessed with rhythm, so I know rhythm. So that's the other thing as well. So that's why I'm so adaptable because I
Mm,
know rhythm, and so no matter how what the rhythm is, I know how to. I'm very great at adapting to it. So when I could look at a piece and I could just say it a few times, and be like, okay, cool. I know what will make this pop,
mm,
and I'll be like, okay, cool. And so I just tweak it in my head, and I'll just adapt to that rhythm. And now I just stay in that. It's kind of like that's why sometimes I use certain. I call it just just like the kind of culture I create for myself in terms of like certain keywords. That's just it holds value in my head or my figure of speech. It's kind of like my own personal slang, and one of those is
yes.
stricken in the premise. You might have heard me say certain things, and there's certain words you might hear I always somewhat always keep in the loop when I write.
Mm,
So stricken in the premise is one. It's just basically being strict with, like, if it's a piece that's abstract, it's stricken in the premise just mean that I'm sort of just following deep down into that rabbit hole, and I'm staying in that premise,
mm.
and I will just keep going until I finish the piece, kind of thing. It's an abstract piece, but it's consistent because I'm stricken in the premise, and I can follow down that hole. Do you get me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
definitely. I feel it's even good you say that. I feel most creatives, if they've been doing something long enough,
mm,
they have that blueprint for what it is that they do. It's even making me think of what I do. I'd say in terms of like quotes, um, or sayings that I repeat
yeah.
to myself, and even with like my favorite writers and directors, they have a formula that they're known for that they execute in every. It's essentially your signature.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah,
Yeah.
like you're saying, it's kind of like your DNA. It's like people hear your
Mm,
stuff, and it's like you don't have to be anywhere. They don't know you anywhere from this location.
mm,
They just know that's you.
yeah.
And that's when you know, like, you know what, you have your own unique voice, or you have a
Mm,
voice that people can recognize.
mm,
And that's pretty much what you're looking for, where it's just like, okay, he's about his business. Because when people hear you, they'll know it's you.
yeah.
Um, and people that's, I've been performing with a few years now, when I do certain pieces, it's like, yeah, I can tell they know that's who I am. That's
Mm,
my piece. Do you get what I mean?
yeah.
And that's the thing. And outside of that, it's just like I said, certain words that I just sometimes I find new words though, and I would just be like, man, it's kind of like having a new toy. So I write this piece today,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to put this word in there.
Mm.
I don't just throw it in there. I wait for it to pop up somewhere along the line. It will just come in my head where it's just like, oh man, it's great. It's great here.
I think I do the opposite, you know. Um,
Really.
and what lately,
Mm.
you know, the whole thing where how much you read, or the more you read, the more like your brain just knows when to drop a word.
Yep.
Um, I've only been catching myself do that instinctively in conversation with people.
Okay.
So I was like, oh wow. And then the same thing in my pieces as well.
Mm.
So, but I don't look for it. It's just, you know, it's there.
Just
Um,
it just happens naturally, organically.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that as well, grateful for, because it's like, raw, like we really be taking in
Yeah.
information as much. We're trying to practice how to share it as well.
Absolutely.
So gifted, man.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't even know what a bloody word means. So I have to look it
It's,
up. Yeah.
well, I think there's a, I don't want to say condition, but I looked into how that happens. Um, I think it goes into that. The more like books you read, etc., your brain just picks up,
Yeah.
and it kind of um, from so much reading, that's
Yeah.
exercise. So when it comes to flex,
Mm.
um, you
Like, mm.
it just comes out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that's like a true testament to, you know, st- doing the research, so to speak.
That's real. That's real.
And nine
Um,
times out of ten, when you look up the word, you're right, no?
yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
man.
Oh, shoot. That's really what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it says that. Because you're thinking, oh, man, it's going to kill it if this word ain't right.
Yeah, but nine times you get it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that relationship between um. Ooh, should we go there?
Go on.
It's why I tell people, um, or I tell them, listen, I don't like English, and they're like, what? What do you mean you're the
Mm.
right? I said, yeah, yeah. So, English, um, butchers how one expresses certain things to an extent, heavy
Oh, man.
extent.
Yeah. Heavy, heavy.
And then like certain artists, they've become very prolific for bending words. And I'm like, how much brothers are very synonymous for twisting words. Like we've been
Mm.
doing it for how long?
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we'll be conformed to just, you know, a very rigid way of saying things. So
Correct.
I
Well,
love that though.
yeah, you know what it is to go even further. You get to a certain stage, especially being a wordsmith. You understand how to break words down.
Mm,
So you start to detach words,
yes.
and you start to microsize them, and so you kind of rebuild your own, and you just make it make sense. Now people
Mm,
don't necessarily see it, but it's like the visual.
yeah.
They don't understand what it is, but they can visualize, and it's an art, to break words
Mm,
down. but I've been fortunate enough to understand the science behind it, and it does become fun after a while, and that's why sometimes, especially when I'm writing pieces, I'll be sitting there and man, like for example,
Mm.
I could write 500 words for a story because normally that on average I would write 500 words for a story if I'm just chilling, just kind of
Mm.
keep my flex every day, just to keep my pen happy for the day with writing a story. But with a poetry piece, sometimes I'll be there, it's like 35, 45 minutes, and I'm still there, just like, you know what I mean? I'm locked in, I'm
Mm.
just like, shoot, man, just like, shit. And there's so many things going on in my head
Mm.
because I'm thinking about every line, and I'm thinking about the premise of what this
Yeah.
line means. And, to a certain extent, I've gotten to the space now where it's different for me, where certain people, I think the norm is to write a theme, write with a theme in mind.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to a space now where it's like I'm writing, every line is like a world to itself.
Yeah. I remember us speaking about that
Yeah.
um once upon a time.
Mm. So it's you can literally just pick one line out and just leave it by itself, and that could be poetry. You get what I mean?
Mm.
And that's really what I aim for when I was creating now. So sometimes that's why I have I have specific pieces for myself. That's just me, my brand. And I don't know if people perhaps do this as well or have
Mm.
something similar, but it's like those are like my poet's piece. Like I call
Yeah.
them um that I call them poetry events. It's kind of like
Mm.
literally event, and it's like there's a special structure. It's not the normal structure. It's not the normal structure they have for poetry. I call them poetry events, and it's just I say the prime example of that is that piece I got Deadline.
Yeah.
If you ever heard me perform it on
I
stage,
think I have.
that's an example of a poetry event.
So what made you
And so,
share it?
sorry,
What made you share it?
um, it's sort of like it's sort of just like an evolution that happened, and I found myself creating pieces that are just specifically for myself, and it just fits well with my brand and who I am and everything that comes with it, and the fact that because of the way I perform, it just works. You get what I mean?
Mm.
And it's they're very complex though. So if I
Yes.
don't know it by heart and it's on the paper, if I'm tired, it's not wise to perform. Do you get what I mean?
Mm.
Because it's so easy to go the wheels to fall off because concentration. You need to concentrate. But if I know them by heart and even when I'm tired, I can still pull it off. Obviously, preferred to be fresh enough to get it.
Yeah, of course.
Um, and it's just like they're very complex because every line is like one to two to three times you're rhyming in one line, and that's why it sounds the way it sounds. Um, they want to unpack in my mind, feeling like I'm from the world, and it said, "Don't have a brain, but I seldom suffer from dreamless paralysis. For the constant betwixt my analysis makes me prone to word comatosis. Now I'm stuck in a horrible place, fearing the days I could never again tongue twist." And it's just all sort of
Yeah, you have
aligned.
done that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an example of a poetry event.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Um, I've got a lot of them, but it's just they're They're not easy to memorize.
Mm.
Not easy to memorize for one, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But I have accomplished memorizing one recently though. I haven't really performed it much. I think I performed half of it. I think it was last month I performed a little bit, and I was so happy because even though it was half, it took me like 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it was half. I was like, oh my god! And this was on stage, so I was just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I was just like to myself, 5 minutes, man. Jeez, so tired.
Serious, bro.
Yeah, I mean, but I finally got the whole thing, and I'll be honest with you, Strings. It's like by the time I was finished, and these times I'm going through it at a decent tempo. It's
Mhm.
like 7 to 8 minutes, and you know, as soon as I finish, like my brain is so bloody tired.
It's a lot of
Yeah, I
work.
mean, it's a lot of words, man. But if I slow it down, it's probably going to be about 10 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, because it's really technically it's around 1,000 words.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. And it's one of those pieces I wrote it specifically because I didn't want to just. Normally, when I do certain pieces, like like I said, deadline, people are just waiting to hear what's next, kind of thing, and
Mm.
they don't want to miss it. But with this one, it's kind of like it gives me a chance to sort of pause, interact with the crowd more, and just slow things down.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I wrote it the way I wrote it. So it's a very it's got a little bit of everything, interactive piece, engage with the crowd, and just share gems and talk about life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the idea behind it. And and it's got everything. So, it's still me, still wordplay, still got me throwing, you know, dimes here and there. And I'm just happy that I've learned the bloody thing, truth be told. So right
That's a
now,
win in itself.
bro, it's not easy, but when you dedicate yourself to it, you get it done.
Mm. Question.
Uh, go on.
Um, as you're saying that, it made me think of what Jay-Z's mentioned about how the most serious lyricists,
Yeah,
he's advised to figure out a way to make their raps digestible. Now, I appreciate how what we do in different capacities of storytelling
yeah,
allow us to do what we want. But has that ever crossed your mind where it's not necessarily dumbed down, but make it more palatable? Has that ever been a thing for
absolutely,
you with writing pieces, especially because you perform so like actively?
absolutely. I mean, believe it or not, my pieces used to be a lot more complex in terms of like my choice of words.
Mm,
So I've really taken away a lot of the complexities in terms of like the words I would use.
hmm.
Like for example, that piece I have, Will You Remember Me? That was like one of the first books well, it's actually it's technically the first book I put out there.
Hmm.
The contrasted moments that covets me. Will you have the ability to share the burden, be as open as thee? Do you get what I mean? It's very
Yeah,
Shakespearean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've somewhat I still write like that, but um for the most part, my choice of word is somewhat different. It's and I do that on purpose because I'm still me, but because I'm versatile with it, I don't have to be too over complex.
Mm,
So I chose not to be. I just because I'm still gonna be me anyway. So
yeah,
part of it is it's gonna be like, people are gonna have to think regardless.
yeah,
So for the most part, and this is where I went with this piece as well, where my choice of words and stuff like that, people can really, for the most part, understand a lot of the things and it gives me a lot more chance to just share, but in a way where people can just like just engage and
Yeah.
receive,
Mm.
which I think is important. But yes, I've thought about that, and I think it's a natural thing as well. When you create, you actually wanna you tend to always want to refine to a point where like people always there's three things. They either feel it, they visualize it, or they listen intently, and their listening skills is just it gets them there.
Mm.
But ultimately, sometimes it's all three. I would say um, I've gotten to this point now where I realize just writing alone. I realize, for example, that's why I'm so fond of comedy as well, because I
Interesting.
realize um, they're just great writers, man.
Comedians.
They're great
Yeah.
writers. Don't get me wrong, like the performance skills and all that kind of stuff, that's trial and error, and you have to learn that part of it.
Hmm. It's like
But
the other half
yeah, but what
to
they
the
do with words,
material. Yeah. hundred
they're
percent.
great writers, man.
100%.
And to make the words jump off the page the way they do, bro, you've got to respect it.
Mm.
And so, for the most part, that's pretty much how I learn my pieces. Anyway, that's how I treat them. So, when I go on stage and I test them, it's because I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to make mistakes or trial and error, so I can see what works and what don't. And I'm constantly looking to refine it, make it better.
Mm.
And it might takes me a few months of performing it. Now, to a certain extent, like the standard is the standard, where after a while people appreciate you just sharing it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not necessarily there yet until when it's there, it's gonna take me a while. And when it's there, it's just like, yeah, I can do whatever I want with it. But
Mm.
until I get to that stage, I'm just really just repping it out and just staying focused when I'm on stage, because I'm not quite confident with it yet in terms of like if I'm distracted, I can just jump back to that scene like it's nothing,
Right.
and I could just roll it off, because that's happened to me before.
No
But
way.
luckily, the piece I was doing, I already knew it to that extent. Somebody popped through the door, and I think a woman was arguing with her daughter on the other side of this bloody thing there. I just said something. I looked away. I just popped back.
Mad. Okay.
Straight back into it.
Should even mean to be a heckler.
Yeah, but actually be a heckler. But that's things like that happen.
Mm.
And when you've mastered it, sometimes I'm doing a piece and I'll be thinking about something else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's just like I'm so regiment with the piece, and I know what's going on. Like I'm literally just like I'm distant. I've distanced myself, and I'm just watching
Yeah,
myself do the
definitely,
piece, not watching
bro.
everybody else.
It's literally what that is. That part of you that does this has its own life.
Yeah, real talk.
And I'm glad you mentioned the comedy aspect as well, because I think my aspect of writing is from, I feel you can tell a story in every scenario.
Mm,
And I think that's one of the things I want to get better at mastering.
yeah,
Because this goes beyond you know, obviously the goal is to where I want to go, but
Mm,
before you get to those stages where they're putting contracts in front of you,
yeah.
I'm telling stories to people. I'm telling stories to colleagues, you
Mm,
know, to clients, to business proposals. They're all
yeah.
stories that
As you're
I
supposed
when I'm
to.
right. So I'm like, this is when it became life for me. When it's
Mm,
like, um, don't just stop at thinking you do this on paper. Become that, and to the point where I feel it's becoming subconscious, where I'm not proactively just saying, "Oh," but you know, it's like every opportunity is allows you to tell a story in that moment. Because then when I'm carving
yes.
it, explaining it to different audiences, they, you know, them being captivated helps me to get my message off.
Yeah.
Um, and if someone needs me to tell a story for them on their behalf, I know how to do that because I can just put myself in their shoes and be like, boom, do what I do. So
Yeah.
it's powerful
Yeah. And
stuff.
you said something. You said something that's very relevant. I think as much as we are poet, I always and because to this extent, I do write both.
Mm,
So I'm a hybrid writer to that extent, stories and poetry, and I try to do them both at a high level. So, but since I've been doing that, I always find myself to a certain extent always taking people on a journey.
mm,
When it's poetry, it's the same thing. So what you're saying is very relevant, and I think that's something that we should be aiming for. And it sort of just kind of it made sense to me why sometimes you might hear people reading poetry on stage and it's not like a story,
mm.
because the way I see it, at the end of the day, it's just art, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's art.
Some people do it very well.
Some people do it very well.
Yeah, I met some. There's one girl I saw last year, bro. She had the whole room like, what happened next kind of thing. I was like, yeah, people take this craft seriously, and I love that.
Bro, you're supposed to. That's the thing, man.
Mm,
If you live it right, man, you love this thing. Because I do really truly do love it. And that's why I wake up every day looking forward to doing it, man.
mm.
And time flies, man. Time flies.
Bro, it's April, man.
Yeah, man.
Everyone was saying
Yeah,
Happy New Year. It's like, yo, it's the second quarter. Let's get it. Do you know what I
man.
mean?
Yes, people say, "Oh, man, I got well, you got plans, man." Same thing I do every day, man.
Mm.
I'm just doing what I do. Just get these words out,
Man said time to take over the world.
man. Yeah, man. So you just like we always say, strings, man. We just have fun with it.
Definitely.
I think that's the way to go. So it's been great, but also it's not just that. It's the lessons, man. It's the growth. It's
Tell
the
him.
getting to know yourself.
Tell him.
You know, being better because it makes you a better you. If you're gonna be better anywhere else, you have to be a better you first. So, it's just you're on a journey, and it's just like you have to sharpen yourself first before you sharpen
Mm.
any external things.
Would you say that's how you cite an art piece? I couldn't help it.
Yeah, man, that's how you start a masterpiece. Um, it starts with self, man,
Mm.
and it keeps coming back to the same thing where they say a job will feed you for a while, but self growth, self knowledge will feed you for a lifetime.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
that's why at the
never gets old.
beginning, bro, it
Mm,
can't. And I think that's why I bigged up Lee and the last session that we had, because it's
yeah,
like, if not, then yeah, because I remember saying life, I've realized for me as of late, is my vehicle. Because
yeah,
in doing so, it allows me to reposition myself where I need to be to see the lesson and then
yeah,
apply the growth in real time. And then that's why I get more confidence because it's like, this is not about just theory anymore. Like I'm
yeah,
taking what I learned in the past for years on the back burner,
yeah.
what I've taken currently, and I'm like, we're putting this to work. And that feeling is
Mm,
priceless because it's like, it's like when someone asks you, oh, how did you get over your last situation? I was like, bruv, I sat with that version of myself to where I
yeah,
am now. And I'm like, bro, did you learn anything? I'm like, okay, I
yeah.
did this, this, and this. And I'm like, so there you go. So let's apply it and move forward.
Mhm. You're living the right way, man. You're living,
That's what keeps me looking young,
and
man.
yeah, man. And you're taking notes, and then
Mm,
you're applying it. You know, you got to apply it. Um, people, I think we must have mentioned this, but before, it's like knowledge is nothing without application, man. You got to
facts.
it's not enough. It's not enough to know it. You got to use the information.
Yeah, I believe it becomes wisdom when you apply it.
Yeah,
Because it's dark when people or you meet people who just recite things, and I'm like, this is all great and all, but have you ever used this shit, bro? Like,
yeah,
and they're like, they just stutter, and I'm like, it's okay.
yeah. You ain't living that life.
Mm, mm. So I
Because
get
if
why people
you
are more
are,
quiet.
mm, yeah, because if you are, as we always say, man, how far down the rabbit hole can you go? And you can go as far as you want if you live it.
Mm.
Yeah, nobody can. It's 23 hours. Bloody laptop of mine. Nothing can beat your experience to that extent. You just know what you know, and
Mm.
in theory, you can keep going,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
ultimately that's the aim, regardless. So you just stay ready, man, and you keep going. You know, whew, yeah, man. Just having fun with it, Strings.
Always,
Having
man.
fun with it, and it's been great, man. It's been great.
Every time.
It's been quite the adventure. Um, every day we get up and we do this thing, man, and there's a reward system at play.
Mm.
You know, as we always say, as we said in the last one, enlightenment. We're being enlightened.
Light in my way.
Hmm. Yeah, but yeah, man. Thanks for coming through. Appreciate you coming to sit down with the Mad
Always
Poet.
grateful, man.
You have anything to share before we go?
Um, I think it just goes back to the title. Like for today's session anyway. I create art to help me find peace and piece the
Mm,
art and piece the art together.
you ain't playing.
You gave me the layout, bro.
I hear you. I hear you, man. And I respect it. Just keep going, man. Just keep going. Those are the words I live by. Just keep going. Good times,
Oh,
keep going. Bad times, just keep going.
mm. Mm,
You know, regardless. And it served me well, man. So I'd say the same to you.
appreciate it.
All right, Strings. I would say probably back. Was it Tuesday or
Yeah. Let me check. Yeah, Tuesday
yeah?
can
All right,
work.
let's say Tuesday for now, and we'll confirm sometime on Tuesday. I know I won't be
Oh,
able to do Thursday. Got some
okay.
event going on. Supposed to be a podcast, but yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll hash it out.
All right, my bro.
All right.
Take it easy, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.